So we start with our mindful body, we take a weather report, we go into a mindful minute, we take a breath, and we go into some yoga. So this is generally the order of how I put together classes. And I kind of love the way that we have moved in from the first lesson to the second lesson, the first workshop to the second workshop, to now being in a place where we can start to put things together in an order that makes sense. I love to just jump right in, get us started. So find your mindful body and whatever that may be. So I'm starting today sitting crisscross yoga sauce on my mat. But for you, it could be in a chair, could be on a couch, could be in a bed, could be lying down, whatever you choose. Everybody is somewhere on their own. We're going to take an internal weather report. Let's start with our weather report. So I am assuming that when you're watching, you're here for part 3, you've already done part 1 and 2. So with a weather report, we're just going to label our emotion with a weather word and how you're feeling. So just maybe close your eyes or just look down and take your weather report. And if you want to share it in the chat, feel free, but this is yours. You don't have to. It's something that you can just notice for yourself. When you're with kids, they want to share it. So just know that kids will share it. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but when I'm teaching a big group of kids and they all want to shout out me too or their answer, one tool that I use, and some of you brilliant teachers might use this also, is the me too in sign language, so that when somebody shares, if you also feel that same way, you can do this. And so that's just a nice quiet way of sharing how you're feeling and letting everybody know that you're feeling the same. And so that's how we do the weather report. My weather report right in this moment is, I would say sunny and rainbows. It's Friday. I'm excited about this workshop, and I have exciting things happening in my life when the workshop's over. But I'm working hard. This whole thing, when I teach, I am very present. But in this moment, taking a weather report, the monkey mind of all the excitement that's happening after this is there. So, that's life. That's how it is. All right. So I'm working. I want to get present right now because I'm here with all of you. So let's do our mindful minute, and we can all find that present moment, letting go of the past and not really worrying about the future in this moment as we come into presence. So maybe just think about what your weather report may have been before you made it here, right? Like earlier this morning, your day, and now think about your weather report, for the future. And now we're going to come right here, present moment. So you're going to rest your hands in your lap wherever they land. And again, today, let's do that where if you feel like you have that, you need some extra, whatever it is, give it to yourself now with palms down. If you have some extra, whatever it is to give to the world, to other people, palms open, and imagine that whatever that extra love, energy, joy, caring, whatever it is being sent out into the world with palms open. And I want you to find your seat. And I'm going to talk us through a mindful minute today that focuses more on our body. So eyes either closed or looking down. I want you to notice your toes and then wiggle them. So maybe your toes are in your shoes, feet flat on the floor. Maybe you're barefoot and you're sitting crisscross like me. Maybe they're in shoes sitting crisscross. There's so many ways your feet are right now. So whatever they are, if they're in shoes, give your toes a little wiggle. If they're barefoot, give them a little wiggle and just notice sensations. And now we're going to rock our body side to side in your chair, on the floor, on your couch. And just notice how it feels to move your body side to side and then come back into stillness. We're going to take a big breath here, and I want you to pay attention to your breath as it goes into your nose, and we're going to bring our shoulders up to our ears when we do that. And then drop them down. Let's do that again. Take your shoulders up to your ears, maybe slowly up to your ears, and then let's drop them down really fast. Great. I want you to pay attention this time to your breath as it travels in to the front of your body. So let's imagine this breath is just filling up the front of your body as it travels up from your nose. And as we exhale, imagine it's going down, and imagine what's happening to the back of your body as you exhale. And see if you can fill that breath up front to back. Let's try that again. Take another breath in, filling up the front of your body. And as you exhale, filling up the back of your body as the breath leaves your body. And let's pay attention right now to focus on our forehead. Maybe it's scrunched. See if you can relax it. Turn up the corners of your mouth just a little. Take one more big, deep breath in with that smile if you feel like it. And maybe let it out with a big sigh. And then gently open your eyes. And if you feel like taking a weather report in this moment, do so. Maybe it has shifted a bit. While we did it, notice, were there any thoughts, opinions, visions, like pictures that came up in your mind to-do list while you were doing your mindful minute? I have to say, for me, while teaching it, I stay very present. That's why I love to teach it. I am really in the moment. So just notice that for yourself while you were listening. Were you present? Were you able to do it? Were you noticing thoughts that were going by? And were you able to train them like a puppy to come back to the focus? So think about that. If you want to put anything in the chat about that, feel free. All right. So we're going to, so what I'm doing right now, actually, the order that we're going in is kind of like a lesson that I do with kids, right? So we start with our mindful body, we take a weather report, we go into a mindful minute, we take a breath, and we go into some yoga. So this is generally the order of how I put together classes. And I kind of love the way that we have moved in from the first lesson to the second lesson, the first workshop to the second workshop, to now being in a place where we can start to put things together in an order that makes sense. And this is how I generally start. And sometimes I start with stretch and hug. So I'm in the mood for a little stretch and hug. So let's do a little stretch and hug. I love it. It's a great place to start. So let's inhale our arms, stretch, wiggle those fingers, and exhale and hug. Notice which arm's on top. So we're going to do a little something here. We're going to move our legs too. I don't think I did this. I can't remember if I did this with you that first time. So stretch your arms out. And if you're sitting, you can stretch out those legs. And guess what? We're going to put the other leg in front and see if you can notice which arm, the opposite arm on top. So our wise owl is working really hard here because we're trying to figure out which arm to go on top, which leg to go on top. And now it's not your usual cross. And roll yourself forward. And let's do that again. We're going to inhale, stretch it out. And if you feel like stretching your legs, you do not have to, but it feels nice sometimes if you're sitting crisscross for too long. Other leg on top, other arm on top. Wow, lots of thinking going on here. And last time, ready? Big stretch. Wiggle fingers and toes, and then other leg on top. And just notice what that feels like and how different it is to have your unusual leg cross, right? It's a little different. Stretch your arms up, and then shake, 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 shake. Stretch your arms up, and shake, 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 shake. One more time, all the way up, and shake, 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 shake. And let's palms open. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do a little flower breath today. So just picture your favorite flower as this is our anchor breath. This is the one we're doing this week. So we're going to imagine our favorite flower. Imagine a flower you saw outside in your walk out in the world today or wherever you were, and just picture that beautiful flower in your mind. And if you have a hard time imagining a flower, just think about a color that makes you feel good, and just picture whatever kind of flower picture that you've seen. And we're going to inhale our petals closed and exhale our petals open. Inhale our petals closed and exhale our petals open. And remember, eyes open or looking down in your lap or closed, however you want. Inhale one more time. And then exhale. And then gently open your eyes. All right. So we are going to do some movement today. We're going to do some activities that we didn't get to in the last two lessons, some of my favorite. So this first activity we're going to do is a sequence that I call the Eagle Focus sequence. So this sequence is comprised of some movement, a breathing exercise, a yoga pose, and then a game. I love this sequence. It's part of one of my lesson plans. I also have a link in the manual at the end. There should be the link to my Teachable free like Eagle Focus sequence class that I have. It's free on Teachable, and that way you can actually see each part of it being taught to students. So I highly recommend like going there and just checking that out, because it's very different me teaching it to you as opposed to me teaching it to students. So yeah, so it's in my Teachable. So maybe I can get Jenny that link to share with you guys, or it's in the PDF, so I believe. All right, so this is crossing the midline. So crossing the midline is a skill that children are expected to have mastered by the time they're 3 or 4 years old, sometimes a little bit older. I don't always see 4-year-olds having mastered crossing the midline. It's something that they're still practicing. It's a bilateral skill, so it's using both sides of the body at the same time. So when we did, right, this stretch and hug with our legs, that's all crossing the midline. So the ability to move your hand or your foot or an eye over to the space of the other side. So when we reach across our body to grab something, that's crossing the midline. Scratching your body, reading, that's a big one. So when you're reading, you're crossing the midline. So it enables the two hemispheres of the brain to work together to develop both the cognitive and motor skills necessary for reading, for writing, for self-care, for sports, all these daily life activities. So it is a pre-reading and a pre-writing activity or a skill that you need. So what happens is when I am in classes and I see, you know, preschoolers, most preschoolers still are working on those skills when I practice this activity with them. As you start moving up into the grades, you'll notice that in first grade, kindergarten and first grade, most of the kids can somewhat master the skill of crossing the midline. But if you see second graders and third graders who are still struggling, there could be something going on that needs to be looked into, because it is pre-reading and pre-writing skill that maybe it's something to explore a little further. So that's just something to think about when you see, because usually there's only like 1 or 2 kids who are still struggling with crossing the midline by that age. But when we stand up and do these activities, I'm going to be honest, sometimes there are some adults who struggle with it as well. So you'll see if that's you. And if it is, that's okay, because we're really trying to connect our brain with our body at the same time. And if it's something that you haven't done, this activity that we're going to do, it could be a little tricky at first. But it's really a great one and fun to do. So it's required for kids and for all of us for our daily activities. So these activities are great to practice. And I always tell teachers, do this before you're taking a test or you're doing a writing activity, because now the wise owl part of your brain is ready, it's been exercised, and it's ready to go. So find a way to stand up that feels good to you. I'm going to do my roly-poly pop because here I am sitting on a mat. Why not? But, you know, if that's not in the cards for you today, that's fine. So we roly-poly pop up to our feet. And if you work with preschoolers and kindergarteners, I mean, roly-poly pop is the way to go. All right, I'm going to do this and put myself back on speaker so I can make sure that I'm showing my whole body to you. All right, here we go. So you're going to stand up. Let's get in our mountain. We always want to start in a mountain, right? That's the best place to start. So we're focused, we're grounded, and we're ready. So think about your feet, 4 corners of both feet pressing into the earth. Whether you're wearing shoes or not, same. If you're in shoes, do it in shoes. If you're not in shoes, bare feet gripping the earth, okay? Bringing your palms together. Let's just get ready here, focused, grounded. Palms together means balance. Let's do this that we didn't do the last time. We're going to just find our center, and this is a really fun activity. So to find our center, first we're going to lean all the way over to one side while still keeping both feet on the floor. You're going to lean, 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 and till you hit your edge. This is your edge before you fall, and you want both feet still on the floor. Let's go to the other side. Lean, 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 lean. Find your edge. Both feet still on the floor. All right, this one's fun. Come forward. Lean, 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 lean. Grip those toes until you find your edge. This is your edge. It's kind of like you have a string holding you up, right? But it's your own body doing it. And then we're going to lean backwards until you find your edge before you fall. Toes gripping the earth, and then center. Pretty fun. All right, shake out those arms. Here we go. Your hands come like this. We're going to take one hand. We're going to tap the opposite knee like this. And we could say it out loud. I like to say it and have the kids say it with me. Hand to knee, 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 hand to knee. We get a little faster. Hand to knee, hand to knee, hand to knee, and freeze. Great. Okay, I'm going to put you back on gallery so I can see everybody now that I know I'm in a good spot. All right. Elbow to knee. So my elbow never touches my knee in this. So this is a modification. Like if your elbow touches your knee, wonderful. If it doesn't, no problem. Just take your elbow and make it go towards your knee. Ready? Elbow to knee, 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 and freeze. All right, here we go. Hand to foot backwards. Same foot, same hand. Hand to foot, 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 and freeze. All right, here's where we get to the trickiest part. We're doing hand to opposite foot backwards. Might require a little extra thought here. We go hand to foot, hand to foot, hand to foot, hand to foot, hand to foot. Yeah, look at Dylan. He's going. He is moving. Hand to foot, 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 and freeze. Awesome job. All right. Next up, we're going to do eagle breath. There is a card for that. So one of my cards is eagle breath. And if you get the card deck, you'll have it in there. Now, I have very explicit directions on that card. They're a little bit trickier than the way I've kind of evolved my decision. I mean, my explaining of this breath. It gets a little tricky for some kids' arms. I sometimes would find myself going around and putting kids' arms into this position because it's a little tricky, but I've kind of narrowed it down to a pretty easy way of explaining it. So we're doing our hands open like this, thumbs up. Here we go. Take your thumbs, make them touch or kiss, whatever, however you want to explain it. And then take your thumbs and go down. So now the backs of your hands are facing each other. Now you're going to cross at the wrist. And then your hands clasp. Now, I'm explaining it. It seems pretty straightforward. It's not always that straightforward for some kids. And so I would go around and help kids do this. I don't know how that will be going forward now. So maybe just really working with kids to get those directions. Now you cross one leg over if that works for your body. Inhale in. Exhale out. Inhale in. Exhale out. And then we shake it all out. All right. So now this is the thing. We're going to do it again. Whenever we do one side, we need to do the other. So I want you to be mindful and see if you could remember which wrist you crossed the first time. We're going to cross the other wrist. So palms facing each other, thumbs are up. Remember, thumbs come together, thumbs go down. So now our backs of our hands are touching. And then we cross the other wrist on top. And then we clasp our hands. And then we cross the other leg on top. Here we go. So our wise owl is working very hard. Inhale in. Exhale out. Inhale in. Exhale out. And then shake it all out. Great. All right, next up, eagle pose. So I'm going to do an eagle pose and give you many, many modifications for this eagle pose. So we're going to start with big eagle wings. I don't know if you know this, but eagle wings, when spread, are like 6 feet across. If you know somebody who is about 6 feet tall, that's how long those eagle wings are. So we're going to start with the legs. So legs can just be like this for anybody who doesn't want to cross them. We can do a little cross like this. So the next level up would be bending the standing leg, taking that top leg and crossing it over. Now, this is the thing. My legs do not do the wrap. So look at this foot. My foot's just hanging out there. I can't make it go back there. I think my legs are just way too short. So I don't know what it is. My body doesn't do it. Totally fine. If your body does it and you want that foot wrapped back there, do that. And I always love to have kids come up and demonstrate because a lot of them can do that. But I'm just going to do this because for me, this, when I'm teaching, it feels better to not even have the balance happening. So I'm just going to keep my both feet on the ground. Now we're going to cross our arms. Now, if you want to just give yourself a hug, that's one modification. Usually for preschoolers, we give ourselves a hug. If you want to keep on going, right? Turn your palms, maybe they touch. And then lift those elbows, sink into your hips. And let's lift our elbows again. And we're going to stay here for a moment. We're going to count to 3. 1 yoga, 2 yoga, 3 yoga. Take a deep breath in. And here we go. So kids with sensory issues, they love the eagle pose. You're giving yourself this giant hug. It feels like you're kind of wrapping yourself with a blanket when you're doing eagle pose and wrapping yourself all together. So for kids with sensory stuff, this one feels really good for them. It's a very introspective internal pose too. So whenever we do one side, obviously we need to do the other. So here we go. So now you know, I'm just going to talk you through it quicker than I did the first side. And I want you to pick which way works best for your body. And it's fine with me if you want to try it different ways and do this side a little different. It doesn't matter. You know your body and you work with how your body feels in this moment. Maybe it's a little easier on the other side. So here's your big eagle wings. Crisscross your leg. Crisscross your other arm on top. Twist it up. Maybe your palms touch, maybe they do not. Lift up those elbows and sink in. Now I want you, before we count to 3, I want you to notice where you feel a stretch here, right? You might feel a pretty deep stretch, maybe your shoulders, right? Maybe even in your hips. And if it feels really tough for you here, pull out of it just a little bit. Maybe you don't have to sink as deep. And let's count now. Ready? 1 yoga, 2 yoga, 3 yoga. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale. And when I teach this pose with preschoolers, they get to fly around, obviously, right? So in a preschool class, they get to fly and then come back. So they get to move out of their space. But when I teach it in the schools, we just stay put. All right, I'm going to come back to you and you are going to stay where you are because we're going to play a game. Maybe some of you know this game, maybe not. It is called Stop, Walk, Wiggle. Does anybody here know this game? No. Oh boy, you are in for a treat. All right, here we go. This could be a game where if you guys wanted to, if you had no noise in the background and you wanted to unmute yourself, there's not that many of you. If you wanted to, not that you have to talk, but this is kind of fun, and it's just to make it so like we feel like we're all together playing the game. So it's up to you if you want to unmute yourself, no pressure. All right, so I'm going to give you to start 2 directions. The first direction, and it seems simple, but you'll see where we're going with this. The first instruction is to walk, and then the second instruction is to stop. So when I say walk, it's not just to walk, because when we walk, so when we're in a class, we're probably not for a very long time ever going to be in a class with like 26 kids again. I can't imagine when that's going to be. So when we're in a class with like 26 kids, walking around a classroom requires a lot of mindfulness because we need to be mindful of each other, which is a really good skill for kids to learn to notice their body in space in relation to all of those around them. Because you know the kids who have no concept of that, even as they get older, they don't understand where they fit in relation to those around them. So this walking around a room when there's a lot of kids will allow them to try to learn to be a little bit more mindful. And it's still a little tricky for some students. And then we also have desks and chairs and all kinds of things. So when we walk, you're in your own home. Notice what's around you, and I want you to be mindful of each step. So because it's just you there, just now practice mindful walking when we walk. Just notice how you walk. Just notice each step you take. And then when I say stop, you're going to stop. Here we go. Walk. Stop. Walk. Stop. One more time. Walk and stop. All right, you all did such a great job. I'm going to take it to the next level. We're going to switch this up. So now when I say walk, that actually means stop. And when I say stop, that actually means walk. So wake up your wise owls, because we need them, right? That's why we practiced all that crossing the midline before, to wake up our wise owl, because we need it for this game. All right, here we go. Stop. Walk. Stop. Walk. Stop and walk. All right, next direction. So you all seem to have gotten the stop and the walk down pat. Now think about bilingual students or multilingual students. They're constantly switching it up in their brain all the time. So that I only speak one language. So I mean, I teach in a lot of schools where these kids speak many languages, and they are doing all of this in their brain at all times. So think about that. All right, here we go. The next two instructions, I'm going to stand up so you can see, are sit. And if you have a chair, you can use a chair, but I kind of like the chair pose. Sit, and then wiggle. All right, so sit is sit, wiggle is wiggle to start, but then stop is still walk, walk is still stop. So we didn't let go of those two. Here we go. Sit, wiggle, sit, stop, wiggle, walk, sit, stop, walk. Oh, you guys were so good at that I think we need to switch it up, right? Dylan, you knew I was going to do that. All right. Sit is wiggle, wiggle is sit. Stop is walk, walk is stop. You got this. I know you can do it. Here we go. Wiggle. Sit. Wiggle. Stop. Sit. Wiggle. Walk. Wiggle. Stop. Walk. See, this is why all, like, you know, if you unmuted yourself, everybody would be laughing right now. All right, guys, guess what? We have two more directions. So this is it. And you can take this as far as you want, but I usually just do 3 sets of directions. Okay, the next 2 directions will be clap and jump. All right. So I'm going to tell you that one time I was in a class and we turned it into like 2 dance moves, like dab and this one. Yeah. And it was hilarious. Oh my God. It was like the funniest thing. And they're like, oh no, like we have to like change the name of the dance. Like it was crazy. So this can be taken in any way that you want to, as far as you want to go with it. Right. All right, here we go. Clap. Clap is clap. Jump. Clap. The floss, right? Of course. Jump. Clap. Sit. Walk.
That's hot.
Stop. Clap. Jump. Stop. Walk. All right, let's just finish it up. Ready? Clap is jump, jump is clap. Sit is wiggle, wiggle is sit.
Oh no.
And Dylan, if you want to do dance moves, feel free. But I'm not gonna do that with everybody else. That's a little tricky. Stop is walk, walk is stop. Here we go. We got it. Ready? Clap. Jump. Sit. Walk.
Oh my God. What?
Wiggle. Sit. Stop. Jump. Walk. All right. All right, I'm going to give you 3 directions now. They're all opposite. You ready? Here we go. You're going to stop, back to your seat, wiggle, and then jump. So these are all opposite. Stop, back to your seat, wiggle, and then jump. Yeah, give yourself a hand. So I am happy to have anybody like want to say anything. If you want to unmute yourself and just share one thing from that, because that one's always like such a great interactive game, and there's only 15 of us on here. So if anybody wants to say anything like about it, feel free to jump in or just chat it too.
That was so fun.
Yeah, it's a fun game. So I have to say, when I go into classrooms, that's the #1 game they all ask for. So it's really fun.
I feel like even with I'll be in a kindergarten room with maybe 22 kids in September on desks. But I could do this standing at your desk. Walking could be on the spot.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So
totally. They can do it at their desk.
They'll do it and just, you know.
But you can also like, you know, modify it in a way that like is even different activities that they have to do. It doesn't always have to be sit, wiggle, stop.
Right.
Walk, you know, it could be anything. And with preschoolers, like you could just do the stop and walk. It's direction following, right? Like you don't have to take it as far. So you just
little bit
as far as you need. It's a great one to modify in a way that works for your kids. And you can see it does work here on virtual. And if you had a group of kids doing it where they can all see each other, they would have so much fun with it with their things unmuted. It's a great interactive game. So that's a sequence we love to do, and it takes about 10 minutes or so if you just go through that. So just so you know, it's like a lesson plan. It's a really fun lesson plan to teach from beginning to end. So that's why we call it the Eagle Focus sequence. All right. I'm just looking. Okay, while we're sitting, I'm going to just switch the order of what I'm doing since we're sitting, and then we'll get back up to stand in a moment. So yeah, fifth graders. Oh yeah, every age. Like this is one of those. I mean, you love it. So like fifth graders, like older kids, everybody really enjoys that one. I did not make it up, so I always give props. Like I don't remember where I learned it, but I've learned it from a few different teachers, and everybody kind of has their own variation on it. So we're going to move into a little self-care, tense and relaxed type of little mini lesson as well. So I like to put things together that kind of make sense and then kind of like form a theme. So like I'll have like a spring cleaning theme, or, you know, a peace theme, or, you know, just different kinds of themes, rainbow theme. And I have all these lesson plans, and then those are kind of like the bonus ones that come after it. But this is like where you're just, you know, it could be like a letting go of frustration type of theme. And I do have a video of like a few like a sequence of like a frustration release type of activity. So thinking about when we have our bulldog out, right? So our bulldog's out, we're feeling those big emotions. And it could be that your bulldog's out and you're really stressed or frustrated and worried. So maybe it's more internal stress that you're feeling, where maybe you're not out, you know, hurting other people physically or saying things, but inside your body is feeling that stress, which is what happens when our amygdala or bulldog is out. So there are body parts that we feel that stress. And one of them is in our face. So I like to do this because a lot of kids have never given their self like a self-care like face massage. So we're going to do a little face massage, and maybe some of you have never done that for yourself. So I like to start with the eyes. What are our eyes doing all day long, and especially now? What are we looking at all the time? We're looking at screens a lot. So there's a few things we could do. So there's an eyes around the clock activity I'm going to do. And then this is like where we just kind of release some of the tension in our face. So let's take our fingers like under your eye, and then you're just going to give under your eye a little rub. And you're going to notice, maybe you'll notice like, ooh, I've never done that. That feels really good. Or I don't do that enough, right? And then go on your eyebrow and just notice how that feels. If you give your eyebrows a little rub, right? That feels pretty good if you don't do that enough. And then you move your fingers to this spot right here, and maybe you get some headaches here sometimes, or you notice this feels tense and tight when a lot is going on, when you're worried. So just give that part of your forehead, the side of right by your eyes, a little rub. And then maybe we're going to come up from your nose up across the top of your forehead to your temples. It's so funny. I just had like that brain freeze where I'm like, what is that called? This is old age. I don't know. I'm losing words that I should know. Temples. All right, so your forehead up and then down to your temples, okay? And then let's take it down to this spot. All right, what is this? Your jaw, right? Open and close. So this is really cool for kids to notice. They don't really probably have never ever like focused on this part of their face before. So I believe your cheeks have the most muscles in your entire body. And your cheeks do a lot of work for you, right? Smiling and just all the facial expressions happening all the time, talking, eating, singing, all the things that we do. So maybe some of you feel tension here sometimes. And maybe you didn't realize it, but we do sometimes. And then just roll all the way down. Okay, and now let's come to our nose and just come down the side of your nose. Right? So we're getting all the parts of our face. Maybe go back up to your cheekbones, down your jaw, and just do what feels good for you. Maybe you want to just even come to your ears, right? And give your ears a little rub. When have you ever done that for yourself? If you've ever had somebody do that to you, it feels pretty nice if you've ever had a massage, right? And then let's take our hands and cross them over and give yourself a little neck rub and just press down in spots that might need it. And then we're going to give our shoulders a squeeze. And then we're going to come down and squeeze your arms. So anybody who has sensory issues, the squeezing. So like when you have kids with a lot of sensory integration issues, like the pressure that they need from their shoulders, like now they're doing it for themselves. They're giving themselves that self-care and the squeezes. And we all can really use that. All right, and Jenny is writing something, I'm sure, very awesome right here about this, right? Yes. Oh, yes. And right now, I think because we're not allowed to touch people, all the people we generally hug, this is so needed. Like my father-in-law, he is by himself. He's been by himself this whole time. And I know he is needing that touch and he hasn't had it. And I know that there's a lot of people. Yeah, releases the oxytocin. Yes, and relaxes our nervous system. So here we go. Like for all of us needing to release that oxytocin, it is so important and beneficial. All right, here we go. So the next step of this we do is a little tense and relax. So when you hold tension in certain body parts, you might not know the best way of releasing that tension in that body part, but if you tense all the body parts and then relax all the body parts, it helps to release the tension in maybe a body part that might be stuck. So we're going to start from our toes and go all the way up, and then we're going to go from our head and go all the way down. So let's tense up our toes and tense up your ankles and tense up your knees and your legs and your chest and your shoulders and your hands and your face, tight, and then just relax everything at once. All right, let's do that again. And we're going to start from the top and go down to the bottom. All right, start with your face, your shoulders, your elbows, your hands squeeze, your chest, your hips, your knees, your toes, everything tight, and relax. Whew. So sometimes we're holding in one spot. You need to tighten everything and then relax everything to notice. I also love to do this with kids when they're lying down. So if you are with a group of kids and you can get them lying down and work all the way up and then work all the way down, that it feels really nice to do a little tense and relax as a relaxation activity. And again, anybody who wants to impart some of their wisdom and in addition to things that I'm saying, please do. I always love to have that extra little bit of stuff being shared. All right, so the last one is one of my favorite breathing exercises, and I know I have, here's my card for it. It is the lion's breath. So a lot of you yogis out there probably know this one. It's a really fun one. So I always feel like I like to teach this one as a frustration release. And I asking the kids, like, what is it that frustrates you? Is it like you're trying to build something with Legos? Oh, it's not working. Like you are about to take a test, or you're trying to work out a math problem. You're trying to do homeschooling with your mom, and it's really frustrating, right? There's so many things that frustrate us. You're in a car driving, and people are driving really, really fast, and there's probably many, many emotions that come up. So all of these things, and as a teacher, your students aren't listening to you. So does it work if you get louder than them? Probably not. If you just do a lion's breath, then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, okay. Then we all do lion's breath. And then all of a sudden everybody starts laughing because it's the silliest thing. And then all of a sudden you release a little of that tension. I've always said that I've wanted to do it like if my husband and I are like in an argument, but I'm always like so mad that I can't get myself to do that. But I feel like it would be the best time, right? Like you're in this argument, you're so angry and you're just like, ugh, standing your ground. And then all of a sudden you do a lion's breath in the middle of it. That would be like, I'll let you all know if I ever do that. But it's like on my to-do list. Like I am going to do that sometime and I know it's going to work and it's going to be so beneficial. All right, everybody show your lion pose. We're going to scrunch our face and we're going to take a big deep breath in. And I stick out my tongue in the classroom now with all the kids. I don't know. This is one of those things you have to just decide, is this something that's going to be safe or not? Do we just do it without sticking out our tongue and that's okay? Now, virtually, yes, you're home alone, stick out your tongue. Totally fine. A group of 22 kids, I don't know. I probably wouldn't at this point have them stick out their tongue. But it's okay. You can just have them open their mouth really wide, right? Or maybe they all turn and face like not each other or something. Like do it in a way, like figure out your space, whether this works for you in this time. It's an important one to learn, but I think you know when you can use it or not. Let's do it again. Take a deep breath in. Now, the kids like to make really loud, like uncomfortable noises with their throat. And I always like to tell them, so I want you to notice the way that I'm making this sound that's not hurting my throat, because they'll make this like crazy sound that it sounds like it's really hurting my throat, their throat, hurts our ears. So then I always like to explain to them, let's just listen to me do it. And you could do it in your own way, but I want you to do it in a way that's not hurting your throat or hurting our ears, because that's what tends to happen sometimes. They take it that next step, as some of us like to do. Just testing the waters, of course. So let's do one more and do it in a way that feels good to you. Take a very big deep breath in. And then the other part is there are kids who are not going to do it because they're embarrassed. It feels weird. They feel like shy. So obviously they don't need to do it, but you can also say, well, why don't you, if you want, turn around, do it to a wall. Nobody has to see you do it. You know, you can let the kids pick the direction they want to face. But I always say to them, like, we're actually, if you're all facing me, nobody else is seeing you. I'm the only one, but I'm doing it too. So I'm not even looking at you either. So nobody's really actually looking at you, but that sometimes doesn't really make a difference. You feel like some kids, you know, some of us are just really shy to do that kind of like silliness. So just giving them options, and if they don't want to do it, that's fine. Or they can just do their hands, right? It feels good to just do your hands. So letting kids do it in a way that feels best to them. All right. So we're going to move on, and we're going to stand again. I just want to see the time. So, okay, so we have till 2:45. Okay, so we have a half hour left. I have to do all that math. Okay, so we're going to stand up, and we're going to do some more movements. All right. So let's do this first one that I like to do like with our spring cleaning, like a washing machine. So some of you have maybe your Kundalini yogis and you do this, right? So we do this and we're cleaning from the inside out, kind of like a washing machine. So we're just tapping our bodies really gently. Again, tapping for that oxytocin release. And when we do a little washing machine twisting action in our body, it's kind of like a washcloth, right? Wringing out all the water. So we're wringing out all the toxins and things that might get stuck in our body. So things like you're breathing air. Sometimes the air is not so clean and you breathe it in. Sometimes food you eat has things that might not be good for you. And our body knows how to eliminate all that stuff, but this actually helps it eliminate a little faster. So we do this tapping in, and the tapping feels really good. So it's that oxytocin release. All right. So there you go. And so I always like to tell them, I'm like, there are some people who do that for like 5 minutes, right? Feels really good. I'm going to put you guys back so I can see everybody. So we do it for probably about a minute. But we do it as long as it feels really good. So this next activity is called Loosen the Knots. So we're going to stand and like a tin soldier. So tin soldiers are really stiff and they can't move. And we're going to loosen each body part, one little body part at a time. And I always like to make sound effects. I have my little screwdriver here. So it could be an oiling can or a screwdriver, whatever you want. And we're going to start with our shoulders. So it goes like this. All right. So now just the shoulders move. So just the shoulders. All right. That's pretty good. All right. Next one. We're going to loosen the elbows. So now our elbows and our shoulders are going to be loose. Ready? So elbows and shoulders, right? Oh, that feels pretty good. All right, next up, we're going to do our wrists. All right, so we got wrists. Ooh, our arms can now do like an arm dance, but maybe we should do our fingers too and our hands. Get all those knots unloosened. Oh, you guys, let's see our cool voguing style, right? Let's all pretend to be Madonna. Let's see everybody's arm dance. Ooh, awesome. All right, I think there's more body parts that we can loosen. So I like to get some insight from the kids of what to loosen next. So usually the kids will say, okay, let's loosen our hips. All right, so let's get our hips. Now you're going to notice that there's a body part that is connected to those hips because moving your hips just by themselves doesn't really work very well, right? Does anybody know what that body part might be that needs to be loosened if we're going to move our hips? You can even point to it if anybody knows. Yes, the knees. It's our knees. Isn't that funny? So this is a really cool activity that actually shows you those connections. So here we go. All right, here we go. Oh, so much better. And then we have our arms. We can kind of dance and do some movement. We got our hips and our knees. And then I usually have the kids tell me all the rest of the body parts, right? Let them be the ones to tell you. So we have our neck, maybe our waist, right? So we get them all the way down, our feet, our toes. So we work our whole body until you can maybe have a little dance party moving all the body parts, right? So we love loosening the knots. Great body awareness for kids. And I love that connection that's made between like what body parts need to be loose in order to move other body parts. And it's fun to make those connections. All right, next thing. So we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to just keep going down because I want to give you as many tools as possible. Here we go. Let's do a little balancing. So this is when you say to kids, like, have you ever done yoga before? What pose do they all go into? Right? So, and you know, when I started teaching yoga 17 years ago, actually more than that, because when I was teaching in my classroom, no kids had ever done yoga. Kids did not know about yoga. Maybe like 1 in like 50 kids knew about yoga. I would say like everywhere you look, every kid has done yoga, and that's so awesome and so cool now. So when you say to kids like, have you ever done yoga before? Like every kid's always like, yeah, they've all done yoga. And when you say like, what do you know about yoga? They all go like this. Tree pose. So tree pose is like a favorite. This morning, I was teaching outside at a camp, like daycare, like a preschool camp program, and I was teaching under a tree. So, I mean, I've been teaching outside. I mean, what better way to do a tree pose than under a tree? And then we went over to the tree trunk and we used it to help us balance because they're preschoolers, and it was just so great. And the acorns were on the ground. It was like as perfect as it gets for teaching tree pose. But we're going to imagine that we have beautiful trees surrounding us. So bringing your palms to your heart, standing nice and tall. Now, kids will automatically go into that tree pose, but I always want to explain how to the way to feel successful in balancing first. So I always make them I'm like, everybody bring your feet down, wait till you hear all the instructions because direction following is really important. So when we bring our palms together at our heart, this means balance in yoga. So this is going to help us get set up to balance. Now we're going to spread our toes. Remember, we always do that in our mountain pose, but this time we're going to only focus on one leg, and that one leg is going to be our tree trunk. So imagine that tree trunk. What is it that holds that trunk into the earth? You guys can shout it out because I know you all know. The roots. So our roots we're imagining roots into the earth, holding us, making us even taller. So now I'm going to give you some options here. We can do a little kickstand, right? You can turn your other foot and keep your toes on the floor. There's your kickstand. Or you can lift your foot a little bit higher. Now, when I'm with preschoolers, kindergartners, I usually let them just move their foot up their leg. But as soon as you get a little bit older, I say, okay, let's go above the knee. We're not going to put our foot on our knee because our knees are a really fragile part of our body. So now this is where you can see if you can try to pull that foot up and maybe even place it in that spot. And sometimes this works for me, sometimes not, really depends on what pants I'm wearing. So, oh, there we go. So I'm pressing this foot against my leg and my leg against my foot at the same time, and I'm standing. Now, if you feel like you're going to fall, you put your foot down, because in order to find our balance, sometimes we lose our balance. And that's the best way to find it again. Now, arm options. We can take big tree branches out and imagine those tree branches. And I want you to imagine what kind of tree you are. Now, also, if you have a wall next to you, you can put your hand next to that wall. If you have a partner, right? So if you have somebody with you at home, we do palm to palm. So when I'm in a classroom, we do palm to palm. We don't hold hands, because when you hold hands, you tend to pull each other. But palm to palm is a little less intimate. And it also is just like you're pretending that friend's hand is a wall. So now the human connection part. If you're in a classroom and we are not touching hands, I want you to imagine that human connection. Your best friend, or maybe one of your really good friends, is on this side of you. Another good friend is on this side of you. And you can imagine all your buddies in your class, everybody, the whole class is lined up. And we can imagine that we're this giant forest, that we are touching palms, even if we're not. But if you're at home and you have somebody with you, okay, we've been holding this for a very long time. So we're going to put it down, shake it out, shake it out. All right, whatever we do one side, we do the other. Do you think the other side is going to feel the exact same? It is not. It is definitely different for me. I am definitely has struggled to balance. This is my not as strong side. So I don't balance as well. But I want you to notice it's just going to be different. Maybe you balance equally, but sometimes it feels a little different. So let's set ourselves up. Oh, and I forgot one really important cue. We always find something to focus on. It's our gaze, right? So find something to look at that is not moving. Sorry, I meant to say that in the left side. So I'm looking at the plants behind my computer. You find something. So usually you want to find something not moving. Palms together, roots, set up your foot, put it in a place that feels good. Let's see, I'm going to try and see if it wants to stay. Look, it does not want to stay up there, and that's quite all right. And then my tree branches, and maybe the wind. So I'm going to show you a way that you can take this to the next level with some kids with balance. All right, from here, you're going to lift your knee forward. From here, you're going to bring your foot forward. And then from here, you're going to take that foot and place it down on the ground. Sometimes, if I've been teaching kids for a very long time, I really like to explore more. Like, we just keep going. So maybe then from here, we would go into like a little warrior 3, right? Because that's fun too. This is like, as you keep teaching, and if you like to teach all different yoga poses, it's a great way to like just keep evolving what you're doing. But that's your tree pose. All right, any comments or questions from here with tree pose? And all right, let's come back to our spot. And I don't know if there were any comments or questions, but I would love if you have anything that you want to share about tree or, okay, and I see an upside down kid, yeah. And I usually do a little partner yoga lesson that's not going to happen now, but so, and that's fine. I think in our future we have the partner yoga will happen again, but for now I think it's okay to pause on that. But I love the idea, and Leah reminded us last time about the human connection, like imagining like we have our friends, our family, whoever it is. You can even what's the beauty of it is you can imagine it's anybody next to you, even if they're not in the room with you, right? So you can picture who you want to be palm to palm with, imagining this forest, beautiful forest. So we also play a game called Alphabet Yoga, and I'm not going to play it with you because I'm just going to explain it. So because it's pretty straightforward. So Alphabet Yoga, I will call out letters of the alphabet, and then the kids need to make their body into that letter. They love it, and then that also sometimes will lead to partners working together. So if we're not doing partners for now, then you just have them envision that letter without a partner this time. But when they work together in partners, it was just amazing watching them like try to figure out how to make that letter together with, you know, their bodies. And I love how a lot of the letters lead to many different interpretations of it, whether it's standing or sitting or lying down. And the kids get really into it, even in a classroom. They are like all over the floor, and it's cool. The teachers really love that when that happens too, because they're like, oh, I mean, this is like outside their normal box of teaching, where kids are like laying down like the letter L. Right? It's just another way, another part of the learning style where you can physically use your body to make those letters that you're picturing in your own mind. So the kids love that. And then I'll let kids call out letters, and you know, they can make the letter of their name, and then I'll go around and guess what letter they are, and that's fun too. So all right, looking at my list. Okay, so chime, we're gonna do that because I didn't have my chime. Oh, and then my owl and bulldog, remember I forgot them last time. So here are my friends, and they're very important guys, right? So I highly recommend getting yourself, so we're moving into our last 15 minutes. So I highly recommend you getting these as a very concrete way of teaching about the brain, because the kids just love the visuals of it. And then another tool I love is my chime. So I don't know if you don't have a chime, maybe you have a singing bowl, maybe you have like the Singha chimes, but this is a teacher tool that I always tell people to get. And I'm trying really hard not to use Amazon as much as possible, but some of these things, like really the easiest place to get is Amazon. But if you can, you know, try to get these things not on Amazon. I could even put on my website, because I would purchase a lot of these things and then sell them when I do workshops to the teacher, so that they just have them right there. So I actually have a bunch of different tools. So if anybody's interested, and I can mail it out to you. But I mean, these are pretty easy to find. So, okay, this is the chime. It is a great attention focus tool for kids. A lot of teachers use them to just, instead of yelling at their class, they ring their chime and they have a signal. So the kids will do this, or the kids will do this, or whatever signal it is. In my son's school, they used to do Quiet Coyote, which was like my favorite signal. Have you guys heard of Quiet Coyote? How cute is that? So that was their signal, Quiet Coyote. I love it. So we're going to do a little chime listening to kind of lead us into the end. I do two different versions of chime listening. So the first version of chime listening I do is I ring the chime, and you give me a signal when you hear the chime. So this is more the younger kids. So you hear the chime, you're like, okay, thumbs up, I hear it, right? And then when I don't hear it anymore, you can like turn your thumb, put your thumb down. Some signals, some people like to do the hands on the heart for their signal. I know teachers have all kinds of signals. So when I ring the chime, every kid would do this, because that's what like their teacher had them do. So whatever it is that you choose to use a signal, it's a really great attention getter. And then when you don't hear it anymore, just bring your hand down or your thumb down to signal that you don't hear it. Either eyes open, looking down, or close your eyes. Lots of choices. Here we go. Nice job. Nothing gets kids more like, I mean, the calm and still, because like you're giving them this focus point, like a job to do. Like, oh, the sound gets funky. Yeah. So when you're in the room, it must sound weird on my my little headset. So when you're in the room, it's the kids are really, they're listening. So this is your superhero listening, right? Your spidey sense, like you're really listening. Like, why is it important to be a good listener? So we know what to do, right? Following directions. If we're outside and you're about to cross the street and you're not paying attention, it's about safety. And I always tell this to kids, like, grown-ups, number one job, keep you safe. And if you're safe, then we can have fun. So it's like safety first, fun second. So that's our number one job. And if you're listening and following directions, it's all about knowing what to do and being safe, because we love you. We want to take care of you. That's our job. So that's why, we give you rules that you might not like. It's all about keeping you safe. So this is part of it, being a good listener. So giving them something like to focus and listen. And the kids, it's just everybody, the entire room, like you can't hear a pin drop when you do this. The second version of doing it is when I ring it, you don't do anything but listen. And then when you don't hear the sound, you give the thumbs up. So now it's the absence of sound. So it just kind of switches it up, just takes it to a different place. And then another way of using the chime, which maybe in the future you'll be able to do, is called Chime Pass, because we all sit around the circle, knee to knee. I ring the chime and then we pass it like a taco or a hot dog around the room. And you try not to touch the bell and see if we can get it around the whole circle. The kids are the ones that are like a taco or like a hot dog. So yeah, and it's much more challenging than you would think, because there are very impulsive people who want to just do that, and that's how it goes. Or they go like this. You do it with the teens, yeah. Oh, with the older kids, it's but I do it with the younger kids, and it's definitely an adventure with the younger ones. But one day soon we'll be able to do this again. All right. So I am going to teach you, okay, so I have 10 minutes. So don't let me end without doing Peace Begins With Me, but that's our last thing. So between now and then, because this is one of those things where I will do all these other things and then I won't do that. So just, Jenny, remind me, Peace Begins With Me in 10 minutes before we end. So let's talk a little bit about breathing sticks and tools that I like to use. So, we'll do the glitter bottle first. I could just show you a couple of the things I use to make the glitter bottle. I love the glitter bottle. Everybody knows about the glitter bottle, mindful glitter bottle. I love making them. Oh, you don't? Really? Oh, it's like one of those sensory tools. Wow, I'm surprised. Because it seems like this is like one of those things that everybody's been like, been there, done that. So I'm glad that it's not. So the glitter, the sequins in here, right? It's like our monkey mind, all those crazy thoughts we're having right now, all day. Now what's happening to our glitter bottle? What's happening to the glitter and the sequins? They're settling, right? So the kids all lie in their bellies, or they sit up and they just watch it. And you could just see what's going on. Their minds are calming with the glitter bottle. It's a pretty fun tool to use, and it really takes a lot. Like, I've been making them for so long that I've kind of got the timing down, because if you don't do it right, they just go zoop right down to the bottom. So this is my key, and I have a YouTube video on my Full Joy Yoga YouTube channel that teaches you how to do it. But in a nutshell, in the container, because I do this with like groups and birthday parties too, in here is, I take water, I heat it up, and then I turn it off once it's hot, and then I take a whole bottle, like I fill up a big pot, and then I pour all this glitter glue in, and then so you dissolve the glitter glue in the water first. So now this has that viscosity that can hold the other glitter. So it's not just plain water. That's the key. And so now it's a little thicker, and it has that, it's like the gluiness in it. And then you have the kids pour in, I like buy these that have like the little thing that you can just open and they can just pour it in. And you pour in a bunch of glitter, you let them pour in a bunch of sequins, and then you close it up. And then I use like the washi tape, or like, the little duct tape. And I always like to, and then if you can, if like when I sell them, I take a glue gun and I glue inside and close it up and then put the tape around. But when kids just make them themselves, they don't. And then I always buy a bunch of like alphabet stickers and let the kids decorate. So when I do it with like birthday parties, we just use small jars. And then when I do it to sell, like I sell a whole bunch of these, and I do them all different color patterns. And then yeah, so then you just tape it around and then the kids can decorate with their name on it. So it's just another tool for like a peace corner. And then the other thing that kids really like, so when my son was like 4, he loved, like when he was in it, this was what he loved. It's a bubble timer. They're super cheap. Like these on Amazon are like $8 or $10. So this is a toy from like our childhood. Now it's come back as like a focus tool and a calm down tool. It's about a minute, so it's a really great timer. I know a lot of kids who use it to help them go to sleep. Like my son right now, he uses my old lava lamp that I had from college. He uses that to go to sleep at night. And he watches it. So it's the same thing, right? So my 8.5-year-old, he uses my old lava lamp. So there's all these things that, you know, we have our breath and we have all of these other tools, but sometimes it just takes like, you know, an $8 toy for, you know, 6 months to get you through those hard times, right? Yeah. So like I always like to help teachers put together like a Peace Corner basket or Zen Zone basket, and so all the things that kids can use and they all pick the thing that works for them. So if it's not their breath, it could be this. So, and the breath is always there, right? The breath is always a tool that they have, but sometimes they might need a little extra at times. All right, I'm going to teach you how to make the breathing stick real quick. Yeah, Zen basket at home. Zephyr's always had one, and he has like all my tools, but now like I don't know what happens when they turn this age, but I was terrified to go into his room yesterday. I was like, oh my God, I'm like, okay, we are cleaning this. That's where you need the breathing when your kids start getting to that age where their rooms, it's insane. All his stuff, my God. All right, let's move on to a breathing stick. So this is the finished product, what it looks like. So it's a pipe cleaner, and then there's beads on it. And this is all about the process. The final product is awesome too, but the process of making it is also really soothing and calming for kids. It's one of those things that when I did festivals back in the day when you can have a table and lots of people were together in one spot, I would put like bowls of these beads on the tables with pipe cleaners, and then the kids would string it. And I would have, my intention was breathing stick, but their intention was just string beads. So that's good for like for a Zen Zone or a Peace Corner basket. So then so I did this actually for my workshop yesterday, so I'll undo it. But you take one end, you start the one end, you turn the end, and you either make a lollipop or a heart. Or maybe the kids want to do it how they want. And then you let them pick out 8 to 10 beads. So I always have lots of, and this part of the process, I have some videos of me doing this with a preschool group. It's the sweetest, cutest thing of all time. So on my Full of Joy Yoga YouTube, it's me teaching this to preschoolers. It's hilarious, and they're picking out their beads, watching them just pick out their beads, and every single one is different, and it shows their personality. And I love that. When I do it in workshops live, it really shows the personality of the people making it, because everybody picks their color pattern that they want. So it's really cool. And then there's also letter beads too. So you can put your name or words. People put breathe, like whatever they want. So then you put the beads on, and then you have 8 to 10 beads. This is just, this one isn't any specific pattern or anything. I think I just made it real quick. So this is how it's used. You inhale and exhale. Like mala beads or, other things they use, right? So inhale and exhale. So you might find, like I've done this in classes, like kids will use it like once or twice, and it's a fun activity, but just the process of making it. And some kids, they might hang on to. Some kids would like put it on a keychain and put it on their backpacks. Like I've had teachers do very creative things with it for their kids, have it in their desks. So this is just another tool, right? So we're just trying to give our kids as many tools as possible. All right. Let's finish off with
question. How much
do
you give for the breath stick activity?
I like when I teach my like half-hour class, like I did it as like the whole class, right? So because the directions and the picking, there are kids who pick out 8 beads in like a minute. There are kids who pick out 8 beads. It takes them 20 minutes to pick out 8 beads, right? Because they are very particular and specific, and they have a pattern. And that is like my favorite thing, is watching the kids who are really like they know what they want, and they have an idea, and they're really trying to put this thing together the way they want. So you need that much time. And then if kids finish early, they can use it. And then you can give them like, put out some books and let them, look at books if they're done quicker than others. But I'd say it's a good 20-minute to 30-minute activity, because then you could build on it. Let's all use it together and let's breathe. And then you can do a few more things after that. But give them about 20 minutes to do it. Would this be this would be the one class. I would do a few things first, like get that, set the intention, get them in their mindful body, do a mindful minute, do a breathing exercise, do a few yoga poses, and then do a breathing stick. Yeah. All right, so we're going to finish up with my favorite, one of my other favorite tools, and it's a mudra and a mantra. So you might be in a place where you can't use the terms mudra and mantra. So mudra is when we press our fingers together or our hands together, and it helps bring focus or calm. And I always like to say this is another tool that, like, you get a little current that goes up your body, and it affects the amygdala, the bulldog, and it helps get it calm and focused. So however, you don't even have to say mudra if you can't say mudra in a class. You could just say, we're going to press our fingers together, because guess what? It creates this little electrical current that goes up your arms into your brain, and it really helps your bulldog get calm. And then a mantra is a little saying. It's like a pep talk. So you're going to create this saying for yourself. I'm going to teach you one, but then you can create your own. So let's start, and we're going to all do this together. And if you want to unmute yourself, because this is a great time for all of us to come together at the very end. If you want to unmute, we're going to all say together, thumb and pointer, we say peace.
Peace.
Thumb and middle finger, begins.
Begins.
Thumb and ring finger, with.
With.
And then thumb and pinky, me.
Me.
Okay, so we're going to do this together 3 times out loud. Ready? Peace begins with me.
Me.
Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Now we're going to do it 3 times with a whisper. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. 3 times in your mind. You can close your eyes or look down in your lap. So what does that mean? Peace begins with me. I think this is how I see it. It's our wise owl making good choices, and you're taking that power, right? You're having that control, and you're choosing how you are going to respond in any situation, and you're choosing peace in that. When you need to be peaceful, if something's happening, your bulldog comes out, your mom says no, you're really angry, but all of a sudden you're like, peace begins. And then you're choosing to be peaceful. And because it begins with you, do you think other people notice if you're choosing peace? And it's like that ripple effect, right? Other people notice, and they're like, oh, I want to hang out with her. She is really peaceful. I like the way that she treats me. She's kind, right? So people notice if you choose peace to resolve, all the conflicts going on. Also, you can take that word peace and you can use a different word. You don't even have to use the word peace, right? So everybody can come up with their own word. So when I do workshops, we usually everybody gets to pick their own word, and then we do it together. So you can think about your own word. It could be like kindness begins with me. Love begins with me. Dylan, video games begin with me. With kids, you get everything, right? They tell you, and that's fine, whatever it is, whatever it takes, whatever they need. If it's the thought of video games, right? And then you could do anything like, I am really smart. I am, I can do hard things, right? Like you have that saying, whatever it is you want to do. And I always like to leave with this. I had a 6th grader who I was working with in a very small group in a school, and he always got in fights with so many kids. He was always in fights. And he's like, Miss Lani, the only thing that works for me is peace begins with me. He's like, I use it every time I want to get in a fight with somebody. And I was just like, of course, I probably started crying like that. I mean, that's all you want to hear is like that you affected one kid who made a better choice in that moment. So that's just another tool. as a, in addition to the breathing and all the other things. And a book that I love, so I know I have to go. We have to go. This is a book, if you guys don't have it. I mean, I put a book list in the thing, but if you want to teach mindfulness to kids, this is one of my favorites. It's just, it brings me to tears every single time. But it's in your book list. But I sometimes, if I have time, I like to read it. And now if you want to do one last weather report before we finish, just take your weather report. Where are you right now? Sunny day.
Thank you, Lani. I think
you're welcome.
That we could, have had enough of you. Unbelievable. I'm sure that we'll bring you back and do like a part 2 or something, because there's just so much.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Part 2 would be great. Part 2 would be like putting together classes and how to do that, because I started kind of doing that. So
yeah,
something to think about.
Amazing. And then we're going to switch over to the Q&A. But since we sort of like make them separate entities, I just want to thank everybody again, all the teachers, all the parents, all the grandparents, for being so willing to integrate all of this new information. It's going to be so integral this year, and always know if there's any way that we can support you, just reach out. I'm going to take a deep breath of gratitude as I have an upside down person behind me. It's just going to be my school year this year. All right. So we already have some great questions in the chat. The PDF with the link. Oh, yes, that is the manual. If you're watching this on the recording, it is attached to the whole course. So the recordings, the Q&A, and this amazing manual that Lani has given us all, where all this information is filled in and written in, has resources. It's incredible. It'll be at the same link that you receive in the email with all of your recordings. And then there's a question for you, Lani, that I think in the chat. What would you recommend as an art, okay, Dylan. What would you recommend as an art mindful activity kids can do at home on a Zoom class? And how would you organize it? Ooh.
So I haven't done one yet, but I've heard from other, like as a really cool idea, this one would take a little bit of organizing, but and Zephyr took a camp this summer that did something similar, where if you wanted to do like the glitter bottle, or like if you wanted to do like the breathing sticks, but you wanted to supply the materials that the parents, like, you knew that they couldn't get, if you can like gather all the materials and somehow like they can come like get them from you, or you can drop them off, and like on that day, like everybody has it. Like Zephyr did a camp program where we had to pick up a box, because every day they were like creating things out of that box. So if that's a possibility, or like where you ahead of time give the parents like the list of what they're going to need for it. And maybe you can even do like an activity where like you can send them a PDF, like if they're going to, like do some coloring. Like I have a lot of friends who are creating. I haven't really done any myself, but they're creating all kinds of mindfulness activities online. So you can even do some searches. If you want to email me, like I can like give links, or maybe I can give to Jenny some links that people can go to that have, like, for some of my friends that have really great like mindfulness activities that kids can do. I feel like I should have a better answer for that, but I haven't done it on Zoom yet, but I know that I've been like considering putting something like that together for like my community. But I know what worked great was when we picked up this box and they were all on Zoom, and they were like, the teacher was teaching and he was creating some really cool things according to whatever the theme was. And it was the most beautiful. It worked so great because it was very interactive. They had breakout rooms with different teachers, and it just made it so that they had the social connection, plus they were creating something. So like, I think the glitter bottles could be a fun one. I've done that live. I haven't done that one on Zoom, but I think it could really work, because if you can get the materials to the families, or have them, like, you put it out like on your porch and you have bags of all, like a little breakdown, and they PayPal you or Venmo you the money, and that's part of it. If they can come pick it up, and like everybody gets all the materials that they need, and then you do it together, and you can read, like create, like, combine it with a story. There's a lot of books out there that are in relation. It's the one, the Piggy Meditates one. That one goes with the Mindful Glitter Bottle. What is it called? Something Peaceful Piggy, Meditate, Peaceful Piggy. Yeah, that goes along with the glitter bottle. So then combining it with a book and doing that activity, I think would be a really great Zoom class. I think families would love that.
That is amazing, and got my mind going about all the different things that we could come up with.
Rain stick.
In our house, I don't know, I was thinking paper towel rolls or something, and some rice.
We have, yeah. Oh, another thing is the eye pillows too, because eye pillows you can make. So back in the day when you can do it, like I have all these like awesome eye pillows. And I know one of my schools, they were like going to have all the kids make their own. So you can have them, like, they just get a clean sock, like brand new sock, and mark, like, fabric markers. And then you fill it with like either lentils or rice or beans. And then if you can get like a lavender oil or lavender dried, and they put it inside. And then that could be like a sewing activity, where the only thing they'd have to say, I mean, they could even just tie it up, right? Like it doesn't even have to be sewn. But I know this school was like doing it as like a sewing up the end of the sock. So an eye pillow would be like an awesome Zoom activity, because those are materials that most parents might be able to come up with.
Yeah, also here, a brilliant idea. Somebody has made stress balls with balloons and flour.
Oh yeah, stress balls. Those are awesome too. And then they, like, in the for the balloon, you would have to do a funnel, and that's like takes a lot of fine motor to do that. That could probably get very frustrating, but I bet that there are how-tos online of how to have kids be able to do it effectively, where it's not like where they have the funnel in it and they can hold it and then pour the flour inside the balloon. Everything you need is, you can probably Google at this point, because there's so many people like me doing this work and getting really creative right now in how to do all of these kinds of things online. And there's communities of it. Like I get inundated with it when I start looking, like, on Instagram and stuff. If you like, for kids yoga, if you're like new into the kids yoga world, there's a lot of people out there who are getting really creative with how to bring this work to this like virtual world. The gold tape, you can either use washi tape, or like duct tape also makes it in that skinny version. So the washi tape isn't as strong, but it's like all kinds of cool patterns. But like the gold tape, this is actually duct tape, but it's like just this size duct tape. And I think even Staples has it, or like Michael's, or any art store. Right, funnels with plastic bottles. And then the toilet paper rolls, I've been saving ours, and I'm like, I was thinking for Zephyr that we would make, like, put magnets on them and make one of those marble mazes on a chalkboard, like try to get like a big, like a chalkboard or something like magnetic. And have you guys ever seen the marble maze, where the funnels and the kids can, like, they have it at a lot of the, like, and that, it seems very meditative, where like then they have to put the marbles through. But that would be like you and your own kids, I think, to do. But rain sticks, yes.
Amazing. And if nobody else has any questions, a question that I would just love to hear you talk about for a minute would be, can you share with us like what you might have observed in the classroom, where a teacher started integrating some of these tools into the classroom when you weren't there yourself, and what that looked like and what that experience was like?
Yeah, so and the thing is, when I teach in so many classrooms where some teachers, this is like, they're like, yes, like this is how I need these tools and I want to be able to use them in the class. And some teachers, they just feel like it's just for me. It's like my job to come in and do it because they just don't feel comfortable. And that was my job too, was to try to help them feel a little more comfortable being able to do it. So the teachers who really embraced it, they would use like one of the breathing cards, like whatever card, whatever anchor breath, it would be up on their bulletin board with all of their morning meeting stuff, and it would be breath of the week. So that was just like, and I tell this to all teachers, if you're going to just do one thing, just do that. Like put the breath of the week, and then every morning it's for morning meeting. So that's the one tool that you know that you're using. But then just incorporating, like when you make your schedule, put in the 5-minute breaks that you're going to do a yoga break, you're going to do a mindfulness break, like put it in your schedule, and then it's there and it's worked in. And then that's just where you look and you just pick like one of the activities, like loosen the knots, or just a few warrior poses, or a mountain and volcano, just in between lessons. That's how I found it worked the best. If I just put it in between lessons, and just like as they were fading, they're sitting, you see their phases, you read the room, it's time to get them up, but oh God, I have like 15 more minutes of a lesson to do. If you get them up for like 2 minutes, you will get that 15 minutes easily. So all it takes is a 2-minute, like get the blood pumping through the body, your heart beating, the blood goes to the wise owl, have them bend over, have them stand up, and all of a sudden you've gained your 15 minutes of teaching time. But I really do think incorporating it in, making it part of your daily routine. And then this was the other thing, one of the teachers, I just love her. So my son's class, his grade, there's 2 classes, and that I've been teaching them since kindergarten, now all the way up to they're in 4th grade. So I went into their class every year, kindergarten first, like all through their growing up, and they're so lucky, and they knew everything I did, and I almost was like, oh my God, I have to get really creative teaching these kids because they've heard it all, back, forwards, up and down. Like I need to bring new things in. They were the ones who were like pushing my creativity button. So this one teacher, she's like, well, these kids know everything, so I'm just gonna have them teach. So every day she had one of the kids come up and teach a breath, or teach or a yoga pose, or teach an activity, because they knew the program so well. I mean, that's when it's like they've done it enough that they're the teachers. And that's why the repetition is so important. And the fact that they got it from kindergarten to 3rd grade. I mean, these kids, it's just, it fills my heart with so much joy.
And there's a great thought in the chat about anchor breaths for stations or center activities before the activity starts to get calm.
Yeah. Cool. When I was a 1st grade teacher back then, I had one, like in 1st grade, we were allowed to have centers. Oh my God, remember those days? So I had a yoga center, was one of my centers, and it had all the yoga books I could find. There were not that many at that time, and cards and whatever else was out there. So, and they had centers in 1st grade, and that's when they learned to read back then, 25 years ago, in 1st grade. Maybe we'll go back to that now that kids are going to be a little behind. I don't know.
Well, here we are at 3:00 with all of this amazing thoughts and sharing. And I am going to cast a net out to everybody that was here in a little while, because I think there's been so many great ideas from the group as well, and have Lani back in her school year. I think it would be really awesome to hear how everybody's integrating and learn from each other as well. So I will definitely send that email around October when everybody is in the groove. And in the meantime, if you ever need anything, you can always email me, Jenny@UnitedWeOhm, or just reply to the emails that you've been receiving. I'm on the other end. And I want to thank Lani again. This was so incredible, so special. I'm so grateful. Look forward to many more opportunities to learn with you.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Yes, and yes, I love and cherish you all too. Be well. Blessings for your year. Peace be with you and all.
Bye, and you can find me anytime, Lani at Full of Joy Yoga. I'd love to hear from you.
I will.
Why?
I'll link her email into the
Okay.
wrap-up email so that you can just get right to her as well. Oh, thank you, everybody.
Have a great rest of your summer.
You're
Bye,
so,
everyone. Oh, I'll stay.
what an amazing group of people. There's some very lucky kids going to be on the other side of
Yeah. Do you know what the total was of people who registered?
I can
I'm just curious.
pull that up so super duper fast. I want to say, and this one was kind of similar to the anti-racism training in that it really it cast a very wide net.